The New Orleans Pelicans have been getting a lot of attention lately, not because of something good that they're doing on the court, but because of how bad they've been. They've been pretty terrible to start the season. They are 2-6. They just got their first 2 wins. Clap it up. They're starting to make some minor improvements. They're starting to play their young centers. But a lot of the talk of this team has been just horribly negative, and to be honest, I'm a little bit in a different camp about them, and in this video I really wanted to talk about how cooked the Pelicans are really, because if you ask the right person, they'll say that the Pelicans have made generationally bad mistakes in the last 4 months and have completely sunk their battleship. If you ask me though, I don't think it's quite as bad as everyone's saying, and I'll explain why in this video. Real quick, if you guys like this one, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to check out the short form content on all my other platforms. Links down below. Go check out the Twitch. Go check out everything else. Let's just get into this one, man. Okay, so how cooked are the Pelicans really? Well, they're off to a bad start, and they've got some underperformers, but overall, it's just the team just isn't that good. That's the problem with this team. In this Western Conference, they just don't have quite enough talent and cohesion when you compare them to like the top dogs of the West, that they're ever going to be like a good playoff team. At best, to me, they were like a low 40s win team. I don't think that they're this bad, but I just really think, having seen that their depth is really not all that impactful, having seen that they don't have much of a defense, they don't have really enough shooting around Zion, especially if Jordan Hawkins is like kind of just not a guy. Like, can somebody maybe like try to sell me some Jordan Hawkins stock? I really don't understand why he's not more of a volume shooter for this team. That guy should have a strap. He should be a sniper in theory. Yeah, man, there's a point guard carousel happening here. Jordan Poole is maybe addition by subtraction. Again, the defense isn't good. Their center rotation doesn't really make sense. The roster is really just not all that great, especially when DeJounte Murray is supposed to be factored into it, and he's just MIA until he's healthy again. So that's the first problem. Their roster is just not as good as like the other like playoff level teams in the West. So like, having gone down 4 games already below 500 this early in the season, that basically puts you dead on arrival like anyway. Like, even if they play 500 basketball the rest of the year, they cannot make the playoffs from this point, in my opinion. They would have to play like 50 win pace basketball in order to have a shot at getting like the 8th seed. So yeah, DeJounte Murray is suddenly very important for them, because if they want to have any shot at being anything by the end of this year, they're going to need a reliable point guard. But outside of that, I mean, I do still really like their young players. I'm probably higher on Derek Queen and Jeremiah Fears than most people. Aside from just having a badass name plus jersey combo, Jeremiah Fears he's just a hooper. He's just a hooper. There's no other way to put it. He's nasty going downhill. He's big and strong, super fast. He's got a tight handle. The jumper is not quite there yet, but I actually think it looks fine. I think he is going to be a like star at the next level. I think he's going to be a perennial all-star. I think he's going to be one of the steals of the draft. I think he's going to be amazing at some point. I don't know if it's going to happen here where the water is cursed and they're building around a guy who just like, it seems like they can just never get the right core around Zion. It may not happen in New Orleans, but I think Jeremiah Fears is going to be a problem. And he's already like, he stole Jordan Poole's starting job. Like, did anyone have that on their bingo card? I sure as hell didn't, and again, I'm the biggest Jeremiah Fears defender on NBA YouTube. Derek Queen has also been good, and I guess this is the point where we can talk about the trade. Yeah, that was a pretty bad trade for the Pelicans. That was pretty bad, I'm not gonna lie. It was not great. The way they traded like a top 3 pick next year, potentially, to get like a guy who's currently their backup center behind DeAndre Jordan. Not great, really, really not great. But I still think Derek Queen is the truth. He is just a really crafty and smart player for his size. Despite not having a ton of vertical athleticism whatsoever, he's still very smart. I think he's going to be a really talented scorer and playmaker at the next level. And honestly, you could do worse in terms of fit next to Zion, with a guy who can space the floor a little bit, with a guy who's willing to handle the rock a little bit, with a guy who's willing to like shoulder some of the burden offensively. He's just not like a defensive player. He's not the best shooter yet, like, even though he projects to be that. He's a player who's really fun, and I would have taken him in the top 10 for sure. I think the fact that the Pelicans got him at all was like, honestly, the fact that he like went that far down the draft board was kind of a steal for them. I had the Wizards taking him at like 6. Now, was he worth a potential top 5 pick in next year's draft? Not even close. He may never play well enough to be worth, like, potentially getting, like, Cameron Boozer, Darren Peterson, AJ DeBonsa. If they miss out on one of those 3 guys next year because they got Derek Queen this year, it is a fucking disaster. It is a disaster. It is like a Chernobyl-level disaster in New Orleans if they lose a top 3 pick because of that trade. But if they lose, like, the 12th pick next year, I don't think that's that bad. And the reason I don't think that's that bad is because they're basically using their pick next year a year early. So if the Pelicans mocked Derek Queen as a guy who was, like, top 6 on their board this year, and they get to use that pick a year early, and it would have been, like, the 13th pick next year, I think that's a good trade. I think that is a fair trade. Now, it's probably not going to be the 13th pick. It's probably going to be a top 7 or 8 pick. But even then, I still think unless it goes, like, top 5, it's not that bad. They just use the pick a year early. That's all. And then after next year, they still do have most of their picks. So it's not as though that, like, when they made that trade, they completely, like, emptied the cupboard. Like, they've still got most of their assets. I don't really think they have any assets left from the Drew Holiday trade. I don't really think they have any assets left from the Anthony Davis trade. Can you believe that Anthony Davis was a New Orleans Pelicans at some point? And he was insane when he was in New Orleans? How long ago was that? Just the amount of iterations of this basketball team that we've had year after year since the Zion era has started has been just absolutely crazy. You had the Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball years. Then they tried to do the DeJounte Murray thing last year. That instantly blew up. CJ McCollum was here for a minute. Josh Hart had a cup of coffee in New Orleans. They've had so many guys walk in and out of the door. I didn't mention this on the top when I was talking about their center rotation, by the way, but they do actually have Kevon Looney back. I think that's going to be huge for them because he's going to be way more consistent than all these other options. Even though I love Queen, and I think Queen is super fun, I just think having a guy who's more reliable like Looney, who sets big screens, who's a good offensive rebounder and defensive rebounder, who's just a good defender in general, just a consistent center, even though he can't shoot worth shit, I think that's going to be really valuable for this team. The big sliding door decision, though, that they're going to have to start thinking about soon, though, is, like, what is a Zion trade going to look like if that's in the cards? I think that is very much a possibility after this season. To be honest, this is going to sound crazy for a guy who they've sort of built this whole thing around, but he doesn't really fit their timeline anymore. He's a player who I think that the complexion of this team with Fears, Queen, and their 2 really good wings, plus whoever they get in 2 years from now in the draft, I think that is a much better core, and you can start from wherever that superstar you get in 2027 is. Whoever you get in that draft, hypothetically, that's years down the line, that would be a much better place to start, where you can have that player introduced into an ecosystem where you have 2 great wings in their prime, plus Queen and Fears having, like, completed, 2 full seasons in the NBA at that point. That seems like a much better option to me than waiting around for this Zion thing to happen. Because even when it does happen, it just feels like they just cannot get the right infrastructure around him. And they're so far from getting that infrastructure around him that I think they're just kind of wasting their time. And the more they keep spinning their wheels and they keep kicking the tires on seasons, I'm making a lot of wheel metaphors here, the more time that they waste while Zion is on the roster, the more his value is going to depreciate, and the more you're just going to have other weird shit happen. They always have injuries. They're going to lose Willie Green this season, probably, if they don't finish, like, in and or around 500. And when I say lose Willie Green, I mean they're going to fire him, send him to the Shadow Realm, because obviously the coach has to get blamed for this mess. So to me, I think the best course of action, and I said this last year when I made a Pelicans video, is to trade Zion. I think he is now beyond their timeline, and building around him is just not worth it anymore. In 2 years, they're gonna have something. They're gonna really have something with the Fears, Queen, Murphy, Jones core, plus whoever they get in the 2027 draft. It kind of sucks now that they're going to lose the 2026 pick, but again, if they have Zion this year, and they're mediocre enough for that pick to not be that crazy, then I still think it's completely, like, no harm, no foul. And that's how I'm feeling about the Pelicans. I don't think this is a team that is totally diced. I actually think the trade may end up coming out in the wash for them if it doesn't, like, end up as, like, a top 5 pick. But I still think they're a team that should absolutely 110% trade Zion. I don't really think there's much of a discussion, in my opinion. In terms of potential suitors for him, I could see like a Detroit Pistons. The Sacramento Kings are, you know, like dead and barren, and they have like nothing going on. So like maybe they say fuck it and trade like DeMar DeRozan for him. I don't really even think that's that good. Maybe if the Washington Wizards think they have the infrastructure, the Pacers, the Nets. There are some teams that I think can make it happen. Hell, even like the Clippers or the Suns, if some things break right for them. Like the Zion trade is still probably a year away. It's not even a deal that I think you do at the deadline. So to be honest, I think really right now they've just kind of got to coast. Like this season's not going to be great for them. It's looking like. Even with Zion healthy, and he's been healthy, and by the way, he's been like pretty good this season. He's been aggressive downhill. He's just been like more effective scoring the basketball and really running their offense, but it's just not working. And when you put him next to Jordan Poole, a guy who is a meme player, and you expect that duo to sort of carry you to a playoff spot, and you've got Trey Murphy, and that's great, and you've got Herb Jones, and that's great, it just doesn't look good in the rest of the West. And, I mean, that's shown through 8 games so far. So, yeah, the New Orleans Pelicans, kind of cooked. Should probably trade Zion. But that's really all I got on this team. Let me know what you guys think of the Pelicans down in the comment section below. Where do you think they should trade Zion? If you think they should trade Zion at all. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.